let's go watch it in 2D. No, let's go watch it in 3D. But if we watch it in 3D, then is it worth the cost?
There is an order to things. That's what we do here. We keep order.
Hello. This is Adolf Vega from 3D or 2D.com, and today I'm going to review Blade Runner 2049. As always, I'll talk about the 3D element first. The 3D visuals for this movie are subtle and limited in scope. Unfortunately, most of the time I forgot the 3D was even there. It just is not really part of the main attraction for this movie. Certain times the environment will appear closer or farther away from the viewer. Other times, different scenes with weather effects, the rain or the snow would look really nice in 3D. But most of the time, it just is used to highlight the actors' faces during close-ups, which does help to make a more realistic kind of presentation with you get to see their emotions and how it plays out. But it's just so subtle. It's just so minor. I just don't care. The movie is visually gorgeous. It's a nice feature to watch it in 3D, but it's not a must. If you don't ever watch this in 3D, you're not going to miss that much. It's not terrible. I do think they put effort into it. I just kind of don't think it's really memorable. And it's just too subtle and too forgettable to really recommend. So ultimately, I'm going to give this a final verdict of weak 3D, 2D recommended. Now, onto the movie itself. Blade Runner 2049 is a fascinating movie with a stunning sequel. The movie, before I really get into it, I really have to talk about the original movie. The original movie in 1982 was a hugely influential science fiction movie. To be honest, I'm not that much of a fan of that original movie. I found it really interesting, but slow and pretentious. I was born after the release, so everything I heard about the original Blade Runner was based on post-release hype. And I don't even remember which version, quote-unquote, of the movie I saw. There's multiple versions of this movie, so some people think that one version is better than the other version, and it gets really confusing. The story is based on Blade Runner, which is a book from Philip K. Dick, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And I never read that book, so I don't know that much going into the original movie. So I was going into this movie, the sequel, not sure if I would like it, but having an open mind. And I have to report that Blade Runner 2049 is a vastly superior movie compared to its predecessor. In fact, I think you kind of need to see the predecessor before you watch this movie. If you go into it without it, I think you might get lost at certain plot points. For the most part, maybe 85% of the movie, or give or take, is standalone. But the other 20% or 15% or whatever, that percentage is enough that you kind of feel like you need it. And if you haven't seen it recently, you're going to get a little bit lost. So it's weird because it does stand alone, but it does stand better as a sequel than it does as a single movie. So the movie starts with a few blocks of text on screen, which the text on screen is really kind of small, and it gives the viewer a huge amount of backstory. So it's kind of a cheap way to reintroduce this universe to a broad audience. That being said, it's fine. I'm not a big fan of throwing a whole bunch of text on screen. I guess Star Wars gets away with it because they make it flashy. But overall, just throwing exposition onto the screen for the viewer to, read and to see before you watch the movie, it just seems like a cheap way to do it. But the movie itself, it's a very bleak future of Los Angeles in 2049, which we're recording this now in 2017, and the original movie was, I think, 2015? Not sure exactly on that one, when it was set. But this movie, they're connected, and you follow events of a Blade Runner, which is an android who defeats other androids who are not falling in line behind humanity's orders. This android you're watching over is named K. He has like a big model number, but it's not that important. He's a newer type, and he knows how to fall in line, quote unquote, and to have free will, quote unquote. The movie follows Kay as he discovers the truth about the replicants and their evolution. Replicants being other androids who are replicated, per se. The movie discusses many deep philosophy and sociological concepts such as free will, humanity, love, slavery, all these big interesting ideas with robotics and androids, and is it moral to have a robot slave or android per se slave, because they are intelligent, conscious beings? Is slavery okay if it's not a living person? I'm not going to answer those questions, but the movie kind of tries to do that. So the movie is presented as a dramatic thriller and slowly unravels its mysteries as you move along in it. It's a long movie. It's definitely a long movie, but it's definitely a great long, a good burn, The movie is heavy with meaning and symbolism, but it finds ways to make a compelling and interesting narrative. The movie knows how to handle the deeper elements and keep the story going. It's preachy, but knows how to make it fun to watch and interesting for the viewer. The movie can be a little bit slow paced, but it just knows how to work. It knows how to keep the pace up enough that I'm compelled, to see what's going to happen next. The world in this movie is bleak, dire, but I was never bored. And it's absolutely gorgeous. The cinematography, the visuals are just stunning. The original movie was amazing back in the 1980s, and this just sets the bar up again. The characters do a fantastic job of bringing this story to life. Kay is a masterful performance. I really like Ryan Gosling in this movie. He might be an android, but he has intelligence and commands the attention of the screen. And I don't know how to say it per se, but he seems inhuman, but is human, but is robotic, but doesn't seem overly robotic. It works. Simply put, his character works. He has a holographic girlfriend named Joy, and she is an amazing character. It's very interesting the ideas they have here with that character. I've never seen a work of fiction with such an interesting holographic character. Most of the time, it takes a long time for a holographic character to develop to be something interesting. Most notable holographic characters, for me, are going to be the Doctor from Star Trek Voyager. But this hologram is really unique. It really seems something really thought out of. Harrison Ford comes back as a Rick Deckard and is just amazing on screen. He was a great actor before, and he's fantastic now. Jared Leto is Neander Wallace, who's a mastermind behind the newer, more advanced androids. He has very little bit of time on screen, but he just oozes charisma, and every second he's on the screen, he's threatening and just so one of those characters that you love to hate. Some of the characters are lacking, but overall the acting is excellent, and there's just so many interesting things here. It's just so filled with depth. You just go into the theater and like, man, I only got so little with this time with these people, but I want more. It's just like this was like a pilot for a HBO or Netflix TV show. I would so be game to watch more because there's so much more to this. You get a sample of them, but there's more to it. The movie, like I said before, it's just gorgeous. Cinematography, the visuals, it just looks lived in and realistic and authentic. This is a future that, while being bleak and depressing in times, it does seem realistic. the technology, how they showcased it, just looks fantastic, and fails, and has limitations, so it's not perfect. The movie is well shot, and just great cinematography, and the action scenes are few and far between, but all gripping and fun to watch. The visual design is rich and well constructed. The movie deserves high praise, but I did have some problems with it. Minor stuff, really, minor stuff. One part of the movie I found weird, kind of distracting more or less, is the female nudity. I have no problem with female nudity. I think female form is beautiful, and I have no problem seeing naked ladies all in movies. No problem at all. That's fine with me. But it seemed like this movie is a little bit overdone. It's like, oh, come on, really? Another scene with nudity, full frontal? Okay, sure, I get it, but you really need like 10 of them. Not really 10, but I'm just saying. They kind of overdo it. There is a sex scene in the middle of the movie that I did find a little bit strange and out of place. I thought it was incredibly well done. It just didn't seem like it was a natural thing for the characters to do. It just seemed like, hey, we're going to put this in the movie. And it's fine. It makes sense, but it just, I don't know. I felt like it was a little bit overbloated overall. Some scenes needed a little bit more context. And one aspect of the movie that I was kind of curious about was the durability of the androids or the replicants themselves. It's very left ambiguous, and you don't really know how much damage they could take before they die. Unlike, other main characters like humans or aliens, you kind of figure how much damage they could take. In this movie, there's a lot of action scenes, and they're like, are they dead? Are they not dead? I don't know if they're going to survive that or not. And it's kind of leaves you guessing, which, is kind of interesting, but it's also distracting because you're like, how do I know if he's going to die or not? Or not die or what? These things are small. In the end, I love this movie. It's an amazing, beautiful movie with fantastic story, with some very interesting concepts delivered, and just great acting performances. The problems I have with it are really minor. Overall, Blade Runner 2049 is one of the best movies of 2017 and should not be missed. So, what is my final verdict? This is the tough one because it is so close to being a perfect movie, but there's little things that kind of stop it from being perfect. So, what I'm going to land on here is going to be a 9 out of 10 with Editor's Choice Award for the movie. It's excellent. In many ways better than the original. It's still dependent on the original, so if you haven't seen the original, you probably need to see that before you watch this, or at least watch a summary on YouTube or something of the first movie, or do Cliff Notes kind of version of that. But still, this is an excellent movie and a need to watch movie, and it's one of the best sci-fi movies released in recent memory. Alright, so that's going to be it for my review of Blade Runner 2049. Thank you for listening and or watching. Bye.
Every civilization was built off the back of a disposable workforce. But I can only make so many.
Alright, so that's going to wrap up this podcast.
Remember to like, comment, favorite, subscribe, love, whatever. Heart it, be something.
3D or 2D.com can be found on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, and SoundCloud. And if you want to send us email, our email address is email3d or 2d at gmail.com. And thank you again for listening. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everyone.